Fetterman sues to have mail-in ballots counted even if not signed with valid date. This is a CNN story, okay?
About Fetterman.
About Fetterman.
Yeah.
The question of whether mailed ballots with incorrect or missing dates can be counted in one of the hottest voting disputes in the pivotal state leading up to Election Day, and a divided Pennsylvania Supreme Court recently ordered counties to refrain from counting mailed ballots with missing or invalid dates on their outer envelopes. So Pennsylvania Democratic Senate nominee John Fetterman and voters his campaign has aligned with hoping the federal court will supersede the state's court decision. The date instruction imposes unnecessary hurdles that eligible Pennsylvanians must clear to exercise their most fundamental right, resulting in otherwise valid votes being arbitrarily rejected without any reciprocal benefit of the Commonwealth. The date on a mail ballot envelope thus has no bearing on a voter's qualification and serves no purpose other than to erect barriers to qualified voters exercising their fundamental constitutional right to vote. This unnecessary impediment violates the Civil Rights Act and the First and 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. What do you think about what Fetterman says here when he's saying he's going to sue?
He probably won't sue now that he's been projected.
But do you agree with him on what he's like? Is that...
No, I think we have to tighten up these laws.
That's what I'm saying. Like when you hear stories like this...
Yes, of course.
What do you mean if signatures are missing still to count, if dates are missing still to count? These are the types of things when you say... And Adam, you talk about the election denier. Well, I think what that does when people... Because here's what's going to happen. Now, you know how you categorize somebody as a Trump person? That person's automatically going to be judged because they're a Trump person, right?
Vaxxer,
that guy's a vaxxer,
you're a Trumper,
anti-vaxxer, the labels. He's a election denier. He's a this, he's a that. Here's what I'm for. I'm for if, like in Florida, they were trying to do something with Ron DeSantis. He says, we're not pulling this off here. A story came out about what DeSantis said 2 days ago, I think even yesterday. Florida rejects federal monitors inside polling places not permitted. The DeSantis administration warned Biden's Department of Justice late Monday that federal election date poll monitors are not permitted inside polling places under Florida law, and said on Friday will send its own monitors to ensure there is no interference to the voting process. On Monday, the DOJ released a list of 64 jurisdictions with 24 states in which the department plans to send attorneys to monitor for compliance with federal voting rights laws on Election Day. Included on that list was Broward, Miami-Dade, and Palm Beach County in Florida. Brad McVeigh, general counsel to Florida's Department of State, said the section 102 he's got all these things here of the Florida state statutes list of people who may enter any polling room or polling place. Department of Justice personnel are not included on this list. So, DeSantis is saying, get out of this place. Fetterman is saying we should count these guys as signatures not being counted. Kerry Lake is telling voters go from Maricopa County to Phoenix because Phoenix is more liberal. None of the machines were having issues. The other ones were having issues. Some people are waiting in line 3, 4, 5 hours. These are the types of things that get people to say, if we have technology the way that we do today, why can't we make this more compliant, clear, easy, that we can trust? In Florida, whatever you vote, you can go on a website, look at your vote, track it to see if it was counted or not. State of Florida does that.
Wow.
You know how many states you can do that in? Not many. In many states, you can't even figure out if your vote counted or not. You don't know. It's just kind of like, did they count it or not? Just trust us, we got it. So I do think whoever, I think it was Rand Paul says, I'm going to make it my mission to go after Fauci on every single thing moving forward the next 2 years. And he's going to be doing it.
Which he did.
He's going to be doing it, right? But I also think there's got to be a more, because a part of when people say things like Ricky is saying, they don't think their vote's going to count. There's a lot of people also feel that way. I don't think it's just Hispanics. There's a lot of people that say, I don't know if my vote's going to count or not. I think we got to get people to trust that a little bit more than they do today. The last 6 years, trust has gone a little bit lower in these voting methods that we have. We can streamline that to increase trust in the voting methods that we have.
Can I get in here real quick? And I just want to wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. If you're asking me what is probably the biggest short-term challenge in America, isn't the issue of saving the democracy. That was a bunch of hyperbole and baloney. You can swear here, right? A lot of bullshit. Because if the Republicans had a wave.
These are talking points.
Yeah.
Messaging.
But it did speak to a whole group of Democrats because they have such distrust for Republicans. On the other hand, when you talk about election denial, there's real reasons that people don't trust the electoral system. There is real fraud. I come from Chicago. Obama and I both know how that happens and how it's done in big cities. Now, did that change the outcome of the last presidential election? It doesn't make any sense to dig that up and keep talking about it. You should move forward. But to get trust of the American people to believe in the integrity of these elections is critical, and a Republican House can do this a great service to the American people if they push something that streamlines the process nationwide, and doing it in a way where there's certain guidelines that every state has to follow so that the people can trust the outcome. They'll be more apt to vote, and they'll be more willing to accept the other side winning if they honestly think it was a fair game. But right now, half the people don't think so.
But Maricopa, this is the second time they have issues. They did it during the 2020 election,
right.
where they were saying their machines were counting. If you voted Republican, it was all of a sudden going Democrat. It was an accident. Maricopa's already lost their credibility when it comes down to that.
Yeah.
Like when they were bringing up Maricopa, I was like, oh, here we go again. That's what went through my mind. It wasn't like, oh, wow. No. It's like, no. So at some point, it gets to a point where people are just tired of the bullshit. And I don't, you know, you come from that, so you're gonna know. But I think that power corrupts, and I believe that, you know, we learned that in the Bible. The Bible teaches us that, and I'm gonna tell you that I think that once you find a way to win and you can get away with it once on such a big scale, I am 100%, I will say publicly, I do not care whatever it is, what it is. We all have our opinions, and I 100% do not believe the 2020 election was fair election. I do believe it was rigged. That's all there is to it. There's nobody's going to convince me otherwise. But the point is this, that I believe that once you get away with something at such a big scale, the way they, in my head, again, this is 100% my opinion, this is not something I'm trying to shove down other people's throat. I don't even talk about this subject. But once you figure out, like, dude, if we could put the president in office, then we could pick our senators too. We can pick our governors too. I think once you figure out a way to cheat once, you're going to do it multiple times.
In certain states.
In certain states. Of course, Pat, of course.
In certain states, which by the way, it's one of the reasons why.
But that's all you need to flip a house.
No, you're right. I don't disagree with you. You're right. But all I'm saying to you is, it's also the reason why we moved our media company to Florida.
Yeah.
It's also why Texas is still winning. It's also why a Musk and a Rogan and others moved to Austin, and they're moving to Texas because that model worked under COVID.
Yeah.
It's also why a purple state like Florida is turning red, because people are sitting there saying, listen, man, I feel a little bit more comfortable living in a place like this. But you're absolutely right. Again, when Dems put the blanket statement on you to say he's an election denier, these are very, very effective methods. Let me give you some words, okay? Some words that you put somebody in, how differently people look at that person, okay? If somebody calls somebody Q, that person's career may be over, okay? If somebody calls somebody Q, that person's career could be over. If somebody calls somebody a racist, that person's career may be over. If somebody calls somebody an anti-Semite,
right,
that person's career may be over. Election denier, anti-vax. How many of these do we have? We have so many of these that we can put there, right? And what that does is, unfortunately, get some people to be quiet and say, well, I'm definitely not going to touch up on that topic. No, I still think the average person doesn't fully trust the voting process. And by the way, I think that's on the left and the right. I think the average person doesn't trust whether their vote really matters, as well as whether the system they really trust or not. I think till today, people on both sides still feel that way.
100%.
I could tell you right now, there's certain people on the left that are sitting there saying, how is it even possible for Carrie Lake to be so close? Who is she? She was a Fox local TV, and she's now, who is she to have that kind of a, I guarantee you there's people on the left that are saying, how can that person won that county? How is it even possible that this can be happening? So if both sides have a little bit uncomfortable thing about this, let's just make some progress on this part here. And some people, this is the part, if you want to find out, for example, if you want to find out somebody is not happy with their body fat percentage, how do you find out? You know, like for example, you fastest way, hey guys, you know what we want to do? What's that? Let's all get on the scale and see how much we weigh. If a person says what?
No.
Yeah, I'm good, Pat.
But if a person says that, what are they saying to you?
They're not happy with
They're embarrassed with what their weight is at, right?
Yeah.
If we say, hey, let's do everybody's body fat percentage. Nah, man, I'll skip this. I got to go to the bathroom. My stomach hurts, right? If everybody in the room says, guys, why don't we use technology to make our election process smoother, more accurate? If the people in the room say no, guess what? You're worried about your weight. That's my concern.
Right.
If you are about progress, let's make progress with technology as well, because we got plenty of bright people that can do it. By the way, you know what I do like? Here's what I do like. You know how you order something from whoever you order, and they give you a tracking number on FedEx, and you go on FedEx, and what does it say? Right now, it's on a ship in such and such. It just got to the port in Jacksonville. Yeah. It's coming to the dealer. Guess what? I freaking love that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's going to be here by Tuesday. Fantastic. Why can't there be that for us to know your vote is officially in the process? It officially got counted. Here's where your vote is. Great. I think there's going to be many different things like that we can do. And by the way, to say running on the Myra Flores, not enough people showed up campaign, I don't think that's a necessary issue to run on. But to say, why don't we make it more fair and honest? You know, the whole story when people say, do I need to show my ID at TSA? Yes.
Yes.
What do we do global entry for? What do we do clear for? Why am I showing my ID when I'm buying alcohol? Why am I doing all this stuff? Why don't we make these things more streamlined? Those are basic topics that a person will say, I agree with that. If I got to go to a club and I got to show my ID, fine, let's figure out a way to make this thing a little bit tighter. I think that is a topic that people want to know more about. To order your Future Looks Bright hat, click over here. And to watch the entire podcast, click here. Take care, everybody.